This is video number 4 of Is Tithing Biblical? I'm still on part 2, research. And before I get started, I will say that I am not telling anyone not to give. It is good to give, especially if you're giving to a church that is helping the poor and doing what they're supposed to be doing. But only if you can afford it. I have heard preachers say that you are to pay your tithes first before you pay your bills, before you take care of your kids. And that leads to item number 15. 1 Timothy 5:8 says to take care of your own family or you are worse than an infidel. It is sickening to me to see people pay tithes first and then there's no money to take care of their kids. And their kids don't get dental care, but yet the pastor and his wife get dental care and everything else they need. Item number 16, Malachi 3:8-10. These are the verses that talk about robbing God through tithes and offerings. And item number 2 of the first video, I talked about the fact that giving to a church or to a preacher is not the same as giving it to God. But giving to the poor is the same as giving it to God. So therefore, if we're robbing God, we are robbing the poor people. But this was the Old Testament. The tithe was food, not money. The storehouse was a place to store the food, not the offering plate. This situation makes me think about those canned good drives they have every year before Thanksgiving. The food goes to the poor. If everybody gave, there'd be so much food, there wouldn't be room for it all. Item number 17. Mark 10:25 and Luke 18:25 says it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. Now I know preachers say that it's not really talking about that. They say that the eye of a needle is a passageway into a city, and a rich person is really someone that has so much stuff that their camel's loaded to the max. But even if these preachers is correct in what they're saying, it sounds to me that the camel is not comfortable. I know I like to travel light, so it sounds like God's trying to tell us to be a minimalist and travel light. But anyway, I like to take these verses literal. So if I was a rich person, I would be concerned. Item number 18, 1 Timothy 6:10 says, the love of money is the root of all evil. And I've heard rich preachers justify this verse saying, it's not money that's the root of all evil, it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. Duh. You love money or you wouldn't want so much of it. You wouldn't be guilting your congregants into giving so much and having all these offerings and special offerings, trying to bleed them dry of everything they have. Item 19, Luke 16:13 says we cannot serve two masters. We cannot serve God and money. If I was one of these rich preachers, I would be concerned. Item number 20, Ezekiel 16:49. This is a verse that I've never heard preachers talk about. When we think of Sodom, we think of inappropriate immorality. Now, yes, I have heard preachers preach about that. But if you read these verses, we see this is something else that Sodom was guilty for. They were greedy and they did not help the poor, which leads to number 21. There are countless verses in the Bible that tell us to help the poor, the sick, and the traveler. Too many for me to list, but you can Google it. But I don't see any verses that say to help a preacher or a building. But not all churches are bad. When my granddaughter was in the hospital, there was a church that brought meals to the family members and goodie bags to the sick children. That was fantastic. The goodie bags had activity books and crayons and lotions and even a gift card to the restaurant downstairs. And that's all, and I'll see you in the next video.